Was born in a little town called Parker's Crossroads, which is it's near Jackson, Tennessee, a little east of Jackson. Went to school at University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Got my degree in journalism in around '93. And out of school, was looking for a job, and thankfully was able to get a job at the Jackson Sun in Jackson, Tennessee. So ended up covering my hometown. I started out as a newsroom clerk, worked my way up into a reporter, and just progressed from there. Eventually became an assistant editor, then a business editor, then the city editor in Jackson. Worked there for 11 years. The opportunity opened up here in Murfreesboro at the Daily News Journal. Put my hat in the ring, and God blessed me with that opportunity. Became executive editor there, and was executive editor for 6 years at the DNJ. Still have a lot of strong connections there. Know the people who work there, and have been in journalism for 17 years. And after the DNJ, another opportunity, I actually came to work with my former boss. He was publisher at the Daily News Journal before he moved over here to MTSU as the vice president of marketing. His name's Andrew Altman, and we had a great working relationship at the DNJ. And when this position opened up here at MTSU, he gave me a buzz, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I've been here for 2 years now as Director of News and Media Relations. I like to say that I still have my hand in journalism in that I cover this campus. Me and my staff are 5 people. We write stories about MTSU every single day. So I'm still writing, still editing. Actually just shot some video tonight at a lecture here on campus. So, man, just still trying to make it happen, Bobby.
Well, when I first talked to you about coming on the show, I wanted to discuss fatherhood from your vantage point, and you graciously consented to do so. Kind of break down how you have navigated the family situation and combine that with your profession and been a productive husband, father, and community contributor.
Sure. Me, I started fatherhood pretty young. Had my kids young. I have three boys, aged 21, 17, 16. I also have a daughter who is not in the house with us. She lives in Missouri and is currently going to Xavier University in New Orleans. But fatherhood was a big eye opener, Bobby. You're never prepared for it, but I grew up in my household, with my mother and father there. And, as they say, your environment has a big influence on you. So, I had great role models in my mom and dad in that they weren't perfect by any means, but they stuck together and they showed the commitment of raising us. I have a younger brother, older brother, and an older sister. And, my mom and dad, they working class people who stuck it out, who made the sacrifices and did the things that were necessary to keep a family going, to keep us together as a unit, and I love them dearly, can't say enough. And so being a young father, one of the biggest influences my dad had on me was being a provider for his family. And it's taken me now, having almost raised my kids. They're all, on their way to being young adults themselves. Just understanding how big of a sacrifice it was that he made. My dad worked at a local manufacturing plant for over 30 years, getting up every morning, hitting the clock 5 a.m., week in, week out. My granddad was a farmer, and I'm a country boy, and he raised hogs and he planted corn and soybeans, and so I grew up, just sort of in a working class environment. And so my dad did whatever needed to be done to make sure that his family was provided for, and that's what I've tried to bring to my own household. Thankfully, I had an opportunity. My parents stressed education. Neither of my parents are college graduates, so I was first-generation college student when I went to UT. But they put a demand on me that, thankfully God blessed me with, I like to say a few smarts, and I did well in school. And so they knew that, as I was coming up the generation I was in, there were opportunities for me to go to college. I got scholarships to UT. And so there was always that push, in the household to better yourself, and that education was going to be the way to do that. And so getting my degree from UT obviously opened up some opportunities for me in journalism, and, being a minority male journalist, I will say opened up even more opportunities. And unfortunately, there aren't many of us out there, and our ranks are dwindling, and I hate to see that. But journalism's been a great path for me to be able to provide for my family and to expose my kids to a lot of different things in this world that my parents weren't able to take advantage of, but they pushed me out there, and I'm in turn trying to do that with my own kids. It's not an option as to whether or not you're going to go to college. That's the way that you're going to have the freedom to, build your own career, to travel, and not only that, but to be able to impact somebody else's life in a positive way. And so that's what I've tried to do, as a dad, is to be an example through working hard, through being able to become the executive editor at the Daily News Journal in Murfreesboro. Letting them know that as a young black man, I can take on a leadership role. I can be in a position of upper management and be successful at it. I've just tried to walk the walk in as much as I can, as well as I've had a lot of good people like yourself, mentors all over the place. One of my best mentors is a gentleman named Don Hudson. He's an editor down in Decatur, Alabama right now. But Don just sort of nurtured me and gave me a lot of wisdom and advice. And so, as you know, Bobby, you need that. You need good people around you, good brothers around you, to sort of help you navigate your way through life.
So this past year was very special for your family. You have two sons in high school. One is a senior this year and one is a junior. Tell my audience a little bit about the ride that you went on this year at Blackman High School. Is that the name of the high school?
Blackman High School. Yeah, unbelievable ride. I still, it's almost every day. I've got on my phone, my screensaver is my senior Lucas holding that state championship trophy. Blackman High School's boys basketball team won the state championship in Class AAA this year. First Rutherford County team to win a state championship in almost 50 years, 49 years. First Rutherford County team to even make the state championship game in 30 years. And to see, and both my boys there, I'm proud to say both of them started on this year's team. My youngest son, Isaiah, was the point guard. Lucas, my senior, he's a power forward. They just put in a lot of hard work, Bobby, and I'd like to take some credit for it, but honestly, I challenged my boys several years ago. Actually, I'm a sports freak. I love sports, and obviously that passion sort of spilled down to them, but. To be an athlete and to be successful, you have to want it for yourself. And I challenged them years ago because I found myself getting more upset with, my kids played baseball when they were younger and they played basketball. They pretty much played basketball all their life. But I was getting more upset about games than they were. And I just told them, I was like, look, if you're going to do this, if you're going to play sports and you're going to expect me and your mom to to support you, and we love to do that. But you got to show some passion. You got to show some want to, and that's what they've done on this basketball team. This team, Blackman High School, is those kids just love playing for each other. They played together for several years now. Most of them have played together up through middle school, on through high school, and this was just a special group of kids. And it was great to see, as a father, see your sons sort of accept the challenge, because the ride that they went on in the state tournament was unreal. Our first game was against Memphis Hamilton, which is one of the best teams out of Memphis. Memphis has pretty much ruled AAA basketball in Tennessee for years, and we drew them first game, blind draw, and we beat them. Nobody really gave us a chance. The local sports writer here at the D&J, I worked with him, doing well, and we made that draw, man. And I told him, I said, what do you think, Tom? His name's Tom Krieger. He was like, well, I think Blackman's probably going to have an early spring practice or early summer or something, he said. And our kids just battle, man. They fought hard. They played together. And they won 3 in a row, and they got that gold ball. And like I told them, I was like, this is something that nobody can ever take from you. I don't think they realize what they've done. But they're champions. They're state champions, and nobody will ever be able to take that away from them. And as you well know, there's a lot of great athletes that never get the experience of winning a state championship. And, to do that in the same year that our girls basketball team also won state championship. Of course, our girls team is number one in the nation. They were the top high school basketball team in the nation. But for us to turn right around and do it when nobody expected us to do it, couldn't be prouder, man. Couldn't be prouder. And I'm hoping it's something that my kids can hold on to, an accomplishment to understand that, if they work hard, good things will happen, because they worked hard for the state championship. They were not given anything, and that's the most satisfying thing about it.
Well, let me, as we wrap up this interview, I'd like for you to explain to my audience how you've been able to stay connected to your wife and build such a strong family bond, and what it means to you and your children to have a woman that has been able to ride shotgun or side by side, either way you want to put it, for how many of years you've been together.
Yeah, yes, indeed. My wife, man, she's a gift from God, Bobby. And, it starts with, raising a family, it starts with the husband and the wife being committed. I just made a decision that I owe it to my wife and I owe it to my kids to try to be the best man that I can be, because I'm responsible for them. Ultimately, I am the head of my household, and I'm responsible for the way my family goes. And but you got to have a wife and you got to have a partner who's on the same page with you. So it really starts there. And so thankfully we've had good parents, good advice, good churches, good pastors to sort of sow into us, and to, marriage is not easy, as most married couples will tell you, who, especially even those who aren't married anymore. Marriage is work. And so I would just say you just have to be committed to working at it. And it all boils down to, and I know it's cliche, but it really is love. It's genuine love, to where you care more about the other person and you care more about your kids. It's not about you. It's about them. And so that's what keeps me going, because I know that the love from them makes me want to do even more, if that makes sense. And so me and my wife, we've been together 20 years now, 20 years plus, and it's not always been roses. I'm not even going to say that, but we're just committed to loving each other and to death do us part. I mean, it's really as simple as that. The thing's not really complicated. It's just a matter of making a decision.
Well, Jimmy, first of all, thanks for your example, for your support over the many years. Congratulations on your professional and personal success. And I want you to, at some point in the future, return to my show. But for this occasion, I want to say thank you and Godspeed to you. We get ready to take a break, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. My dear friend, Mr. Jimmy Hart.
Supposed to be the stress drains my emotion, but shedding tears is uncommon to me. 'Cause I'm too much man to cry. I'm too much love man to cry, yeah. I got no alibi. It's tears I can't deny. I'm too much man to cry. Somebody, Lord. How can I justify? I cannot tell a lie. Can't you see these tears in my eyes?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are black, and the gentleman who will be coming on the phone momentarily is someone that I met a little over 2 years ago. Unfortunately, it was at a funeral the first time I met him, of a guy that sold into his life when he was at Bradley University. He was one of the top high school players coming out of Chicago many years ago, and everybody thought he was going to one of the major universities, and he decided to accept a college basketball scholarship at Bradley University, and it shocked the nation. And I met him at his best friend's funeral, Dana Davis, who was the vice president of operations in basketball for the Memphis Grizzlies. And without any further ado, it is an honor, and it just warms my heart to have this brother come on my show for a few minutes. Mitchell J.J. Anderson. Hey, Mitch.
Oh.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine.
You sure are, man. You're in the saddle with me, man. Just a little more quick background on Mitchell Anderson. He played several years in the NBA. He had a stellar career in the NBA. Then he played overseas for many years, and he came back and he went to work for what at the time was the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Right.
And then when they moved to Memphis, Tennessee, he was an assistant coach up until last season with the Memphis Grizzlies. Welcome to the Real Men Don't Play show.
Oh, all right. Welcome.
Okay, a Chicago native, man. Growing up in that city is a challenge in and of itself to live long enough to comb gray hair. But in addition to doing that and having an outstanding basketball career and influencing a lot of kids' lives along the way, you have raised your own children, and I want you to speak about fatherhood, if you would.
Well, when me and my wife was getting divorced, he wanted to stay with my mother. And I gave my mother money. And my wife got mad and went to take him for my mother. And I was in Memphis. And I said, okay, you don't want to go to school at Chicago. I'm going to transfer you to Oak Hill. And when I did that, I just kept, I had my son.
Now, Oak Hill, that's the preparatory school, right?
Right.
Right. Now, how old is your son now?
He's 24.
And what would you say is the nature of your relationship? Do you consider yourselves very close?
He is that's my brother, but I tell him what to do.
Oh, my goodness. Now, you have one or two sons?
One.
One son. Now, people that watch this show and follow me on Twitter and Facebook have seen photographs of you here in L.A. when you was traveling with the Memphis Grizzlies. Very briefly, just kind of expand on your relationship with the late Dana Davis.
Well, when I first went to college, Dixon Say told Dana to take me out. And, well, he took me to John's. And he took me to his mother's house. And but he kept the money.
Wow.
And then I went to When I went to Bradley, me and Dana became close friends.
And so when you returned from Europe, how did you end up becoming an assistant coach for the Vancouver Grizzlies?
Well, Dick Versace was taking over.
That was your college coach, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he contacted me and Dana because he was coaching in Milwaukee. It was for his birthday. Me and Dana got together and went down there. And then I took the team over to Italy and summer league team to Italy and Portugal and all that stuff. And then when I got back, he said, "Do you want to scout for Memphis?" I said, "Yeah." And then I started scouting. And when Sidney Lowe got hired, I talked to Sidney Lowe, and then I became coach.
Now, over the last, I think it is, what is your 17th year, you have the Mitchell J.J. Anderson, is it basketball camp?
Uh-huh.
And that's held where?
In Peoria.
Peoria, and that's where you played college basketball at Bradley.
Right. Uh-huh.
Now, what's that camp all about?
Well, now it's when I first started out, we had 50 kids. And second year we had 100 kids, and me and Dana said, we're not going to charge nobody to come to camp. We're going to get sponsors. And me and Dana went around and got all the sponsors, and then we moved to Riverplex, and all of a sudden it got too big for Riverplex. Then we went to Manual when Dana went to high school at. It got too big for Manual. And now it's held in the Peoria Civic Center.
So what are some of the things that you offer the kids outside of basketball instruction?
Life skills. We first come to camp, they got to get medical. They visit a nurse or a doctor. They go in groups, and we tell them if he has asthma or heart murmurs.
Some kind of medical issues, they address it. So how many kids are you anticipating this year?
Last time we got 700.
700 kids. So what are the dates for the camp this year?
August 4th to the 7th.
August 4th through the 7th. And if someone wanted to, in some way, support the camp, either financially or in some other, in-kind type of way, how could they get in touch with you? Is there a website?
Yeah.
And what is it? What is your website?
Well, excuse me. I don't go on the website.
Well, I tell you what they can do. They can Google Mitchell J.J. Anderson, and the camp information will definitely come up. And we up against a break right now, Mitch, but you know how I feel about you and Coach Hollins, who was on my show last week. And I look forward to seeing you back on that bench next to Coach Hollins in the very, very near future. And I will be in Peoria August 4th through the 7th for a show. And, man, you're a great friend. It's an honor to have you on my show, man. And I'll be talking to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Mitchell J.J. Anderson. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Thanks, Mitch.
Music game, just to hear the fans scream my name. But it's funny how it works though. They say it's all about who you know. You gotta feel me, that's my word. Cause what I'm saying needs to be heard. You see, I work with them all, bump arms with the best. Seen good people get cheated when grimy people get blessed. What's wrong with this picture? Help me understand and clear this up. Who am I to say who to give this blessing to? And I don't mean to sit and complain to you, but I'm waiting here so patiently. Now what about me? You know I'm doing all I can to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see. Oh, what about me? Yeah. You know I've waited oh so long to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see you didn't forget about me. Been on the grind trying to make it there. It seems nobody wants to treat me fair. Tell me what's it gonna take for someone to give me a break? I can't believe that it's come to this, but I gotta tell the truth about this music biz. And I don't mean to point the finger though. I gotta tell the truth and let y'all know. Cause I work with them all, bump arms with the best. Seen good people get cheated when grimy people get blessed. What's wrong with this picture? Help me up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to Paris, and the name of that song is What About Me? And I guess I know that tune pretty well because it's all about me right about now until I shift to my left and pay homage to a woman who I met a couple of years ago, and I got to tell you, she comes from incredible stock. She's the daughter of a legend who originated in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to let her kind of get into her mother's background, Miss Juanita Tate, and what this young lady has done with the mantle of family leadership is simply remarkable. So without any further ado, I want you to show some love to the incredible Miss Noreen McClellan. Welcome to the Real Men Don't Play show. In so many ways, she epitomizes what a real woman is all about. So rather briefly, kind of take my audience back through your journey as it connects to your mother's legacy, Miss Juanita Tate.
Well, my mom was born, we were all born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was the last of the kids of 6, and I left Philadelphia to go to Clark College in Atlanta, Georgia. And at the time, she was working for AT&T, and the phone company was recruiting all across the country to bring people here to help set up for the Olympics. And she accepted that package. They moved her out here. My grandfather had been here for years. His family had been here for about 100 years. And my mom pretty much just got busy. She met a group of ladies, Robin Cannon and Charlotte Bullock, and they were fighting what was going to be planned to be a toxic waste burning incinerator they were going to put in the middle of the neighborhood that they said would have no adverse health effects on the community. And for 2.5 years, they fought it, and they defeated it. $595 million had to be returned. And that was back in the 1980s. So if you translate that into dollars today, they were actually not very popular when they started. But the reality is that um, they realized that the environment was more than pollution, and began to improve the quality of life in the community in South Central LA that we live in. And so we have developed over 700 units of affordable housing. My mom had a federal credit union established. We've developed soccer fields, done employment training, and since her passing, she passed in 2004. I had worked for her for 13 years before she passed. Everything from residential lease up through real estate development and in terms of commercial, which the culmination was the shopping center that opened on Monday at the corner of Slauson and Central called the Juanita Tate Marketplace. But I took over for her in 2004. This year will be 10 years since she's passed. And the Juanita Tate Marketplace was the last of the projects that was in the pipeline before she passed.
What was it about your mother that commanded the respect and the adoration, and her name in South Central LA still, it rings out and resonates more now maybe than ever? What was it about your mother that made her such a special woman?
My mother never gave up, and people who knew her would tell you that she would fight you like she was a cat backed into a corner, and then hug you and love you on the way out the door as she was licking your wounds and healing your wounds for you. She never took no for an answer. And then she also, I don't think she ever saw a problem that she didn't think it wasn't her personal responsibility to handle. But that meant, we're going to do something about that. Noreen, y'all go fix that. That's what that meant. She said, we're going to fix it, and sent us to go do it. We had to go learn how to do it.
You know, with a little history myself in the construction industry, that is an incredible nut to crack. What compelled her to think that she, without a technical background in building, think that she could step into that arena and produce the amount of real estate that she managed and developed in her lifetime and beyond from the grave still?
I would think, I don't know for sure, Bobby, but I would venture to guess that my mother, her mom died when she was 3 years old, and my grandfather came back to Los Angeles. Her grandparents and her aunts raised her, and I think that she came from a background that, in her mind, could have gone either way. And so she was always about believing that she could overcome whatever obstacles were placed in her way, and that it was her responsibility to do it. And she was never, one of the things she didn't have and she didn't instill in her children was fear. Fear of power, fear of obstacles, fear of hard work. There was never any fear in us. We never shied away from the hard work. There's no mystery to how success happens, and that's through hard work, dedication, and persistence. There is no mystery. People always say, how do you succeed? The people that succeed continue to do what those people who give up refuse to do. It's just that simple.
You have, you had two other siblings that I know of, and I actually met you through your late brother, Eugene. Kind of speak on the impact that he had on your personal development, and how he was in many ways a reflection of your mother's drive and persistence.
My brother Eugene was the oldest of my mother's natural children, but my mother also took in three of my cousins when their parents and my dad got on heroin in the 60s. And she called a family meeting and said, okay, y'all getting ready to start sleeping two to a bed. You move over, you go in here. And she brought everybody in the house and took care of them single-handedly. My brother was the oldest male, so I think intuitively he felt that he was responsible for us, even though my mother never needed his assistance, which was a bone of contention between him and I. He tried to act like my daddy, which I was not having. Even being the baby, that was not going down. So we fought a lot until I got older. And but in any event, his life's work was re-entry and handling the ex-offender population and the needs of the ex-offender population. So back in the late 80s, when nobody was talking about re-entry, he was training nationally, training churches and lay leaders to advocate on behalf of the ex-offender population, because what he knew was those ex-offenders are going to come home, and Sister so-and-so's son was coming home, and he didn't have a place to stay, and the church had a house in the back where we can put him back there, and all of a sudden the church is into reentry housing. And so my brother became an advocate nationally on behalf of the ex-offender population, and he literally died right in the midst of realignment here in the state of California, but he was the go-to person for that. And all of his efforts and energy, I believe he got from my mom's tenacity, and he never gave up, and he, again, didn't have any fear of speaking truth to power. He always said, don't deal with the little people. If they're not making the decisions, don't talk to them. And that was something that my mom did. She taught us, go straight to the person making the decision. Don't waste time with the people in the middle, and certainly not the little people. Not because there's any disrespect to them, but because they don't have the ability to make the decision. But his tenacity came from his mom. And my dad was extremely smart. My dad was a writer. He went to Montana, of all places, when he retired and became a huge celebrity there. He used to write for the newspaper, and he just passed in December of last year. So right now there's just my brother Mark and I.
So I'm going to break this interview up into two segments before we go to a short break. You mentioned the reentry, and since I've known you, you've shown a great passion for dealing with ex-offenders and people who are on the outside of society. What are some of the things that you're doing within the scope of that right now?
Currently, I conduct a group once a week with men who were serving life sentences on relationships, interestingly enough. And then on Tuesdays, I teach in the California Institution for Women. I teach them life skills. And I'm also collaborating with several organizations to bring about employment opportunities. And there's a huge project, probably as huge, Bobby, as our shopping center, that I will bring you information on as it develops.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to walk through what it took to go from your mother's vision to cutting that ribbon. So we'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
Cause I work with them all, bump off with the best. Seen good people get cheated when grimy people get blessed. What's wrong with this picture? Help me understand and clear this out. Who am I to say who to give the blessings to? And I don't need to sit and complain to you, but I'm waiting here so patiently. Now what about me? You know I'm doing all I can to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see. Oh, what about me? You know I'm waiting oh so long to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see you didn't forget about me. I tried everything just to be heard. This music thing is what I love. Someone let me know you need my words. Help me understand and clear this out. Oh, what about me? You know I'm doing all I can to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see. Oh, what about me? You know I'm waiting oh so long to get where I'm going. Send a sign so I can see you didn't forget about me.
All right, we're back with the remarkable sister soldier, Miss Noreen McClellan. The Northgate Plaza, what do they call it, Northgate Marketplace?
It's the Juanita Tate Marketplace, and Northgate is the anchor grocery store.
Right. Now, what made your mother decide that, and first of all, what are the dimensions of it? I mean, it's a huge, huge project.
It sits on 6 acres. 80,000 square feet of leasable tenant space. But the project wasn't Juanita's idea. The project was the model that she set up for concerned citizens of South Central Los Angeles was an economic model driven by the community. So what that meant is we organized more than 57 block clubs. And
Whoa, 57 block clubs?
Yes, sir. And what she would do is a delegates assembly every year to ask them what were the priorities for for the next year. And what came out of the delegates assembly in 1990 is that we needed a grocery store and we needed services. And so, of course, okay, we need services, y'all go make it happen. And that was basically what it was. And she always had great relationships with people, so there were lots of people willing to help. It just took 25 years to make it happen. 25 years.
So after your mother passed away in 2004 and you assumed the reins of leadership of concerned citizens of South Central Los Angeles, what were some of the major challenges you confronted right after the top?
The very first thing is that the powers that be decided that they wanted the assets that we had built. So we had very powerful forces lined up against us to discredit us. They tried to steal $5 million in equity out of a property that was being taken by eminent domain, which is now the site of the Juanita Tate Elementary School. So we owned that property, and in an effort to save homes and businesses in our community, we decided not to fight the eminent domain, and the city decided to sue us and say that we weren't entitled to anything, which of course we went to the appellate court, and they now owe us $4.8 million. But that was a very long fight, and there were other challenges along the way. And the reason they were not able to put us out of business is because, again, my mother set up an economic model, which meant that we managed our own property. So the units that we develop, we manage them, and we collect a fee to manage them. So where they were able to dry up the pipeline of philanthropic money and cut off contracts with the city and different municipalities, they weren't able to cut off our property management fees. So the challenges since she's been gone is often is what happens when you have a charismatic leader of a nonprofit organization, is that there are challenges that the organization faces, particularly when they pass without a succession plan and also with no warning. My mother literally had a stroke and dropped dead. That was it. I went away for the weekend and came back and she was gone.
Wow.
So I wound up having to step into her job. We pulled the plug on her when I came back from vacation that Monday morning, and I had to be at work on Tuesday. But the challenges were all mostly external. And then another part of the model for concerned citizens is to employ from within the community. And so when you work with people in the community, you get what comes with the community. So then there were also things from the inside trying to tear us apart. So it's been a challenge the whole way. But again, no fear. I didn't want to go work for anybody else. I like getting up and coming down the street from my house to my job. I don't want to have to travel. I don't want to have to go work for other people. And I just appreciate working in my neighborhood.
So how did you finance such a massive undertaking?
Initially, we started trying to work with the property owners at the time since they had the land, but when that didn't work, during the course of that, we tried that for years. And we got the Community Redevelopment Agency involved, and they went out and got some funds to help develop or improve the entire Goodyear tract. Our property sits right on the very beginning of the Goodyear tract. And so there were some federal dollars that were brought in to improve, but they needed the shopping center as the job creation piece to qualify them for those funds. And when it fell apart with the property owners, the Community Redevelopment Agency at that point that had already received federal funds and took the property by eminent domain, and we had to actually compete in an RFP process to develop it. Now, by this time, a friend of hers was working at a development company, and he helped us put together the budgets and things for it. And he said, if your partner doesn't want it, this is a great deal, I'll take it. And so when the other partners fell out, his company came in and eventually was purchased by Regency Centers, which is the largest developer of grocery store anchored shopping centers in the United States. So they put up the capital initially to build it, and then Infinity Redevelopment, so the development partner was Concerned Citizens and Regency Centers on the front end. We had a pre-sale agreement, and we will sell that development to Concerned Citizens and Infinity Redevelopment, which is Curtis Fralin and Joseph Shabani, and we will own the asset long term.
Now, I want my audience to really appreciate the magnitude of this historic development project. When you guys started out in 1990, the demographics of that segment of South Central Los Angeles, percentage-wise, was what, black to brown?
Well, it probably at that point was about 60-40 African American to Latino, and now it's more like 90-10 Latino to African American.
Now, I want y'all to really imagine, if you're outside of the greater Los Angeles area, which most of my listeners are, the magnitude of what she just said. When they started the project, it was at least 60-40, maybe 75-25. And when I go by the Juanita Tate
Marketplace.
Not the marketplace, the housing, the seniors, which is how many stories?
It's 12 stories, 118 units.
118 units. And I was in the heart of what used to be Black LA, Central Avenue. Back in the 30s and 40s was just a bustling and thriving black community. And now when you drive through that corridor, you got to have some magnifying glasses to see a bunch of black folk. And so what she has accomplished is beyond remarkable. So what did you do first and foremost to create the right kind of synergy between the blacks that were left and the emerging brown population to make this whole thing happen?
Well, my mother and my brothers were extremely smart people, and Concerned Citizens actually developed soccer fields to bridge relationships between African Americans and Latinos, but not just develop soccer fields. We teach entrepreneurship using the game of soccer. For example, we teach venue management, concessions management, manufacturing and retailing of uniforms and things like that. But it bridges relationships. So we actually have a larger Latino constituency than most Latino organizations in our area. But the reason for that is primarily that whoever's in our community is our community. We don't differentiate, but we are a black-owned organization and will remain that way. But we will service whoever is in our community, and we embrace everyone. Again, remember the model was ask the community what they want. Don't ever assume that you know what people want. Go ask. For example, in the shopping center, when I first started doing surveys as to what market they wanted a different market. This market is a much better market for them.
Yeah.
They get a much better quality of everything than what they were asking for. So the reality is that we've always worked with the community that was there, and we continue to engage them and ask them what they want and make sure that we provide that.
Do you speak Spanish?
Muy poquito.
Which makes this even more amazing. As we wrap up this interview, and believe me, I want to have you back on from time to time to give us a progression of things that are happening in and around this particular part of Los Angeles. What's your next big dream?
My next big dream is to create a one-stop location for re-entry, and that means from war as well as prison, for men and women to come home and have jobs that are living wage, well-paying jobs that they can be employed and reintegrate back into society. And we have a location selected, we have lots of partners selected. It's just a matter of putting it all together and creating entrepreneurs, because we're not interested in a bunch of employees, but we are, let me say this also, from the street. So our model will retain some of those things that we grew up in the projects with. Mm-hmm. Business is business. Don't play with my money.
I got you.
Okay, don't get me started, Bobby. Okay.
Now, as we close this out, let the people who are in the greater Los Angeles area know some of the businesses that are located in the Juanita Tate Plaza.
The Juanita Tate Marketplace is anchored by Northgate Supermarket, CVS Drugstore. We have Panda Express, Starbucks, Yogurtland, Wingstop, Little Caesars, an insurance office, dentist office, auto no, phone store, and Chase Bank will be there as well in January, and Fatburger, we just signed leases with them on Friday. And then Concerned Citizens has a 1,000 square foot training center, which we will do a variety of training there. It will be life skills, it will be employment training, it will be entrepreneur training, and so that's the makeup of the tendency.
Well, hopefully we can bleed into that. I mean, the American program at some point. I know your heart is with us because you have supported the American basketball program over the last couple of years. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing and inspiring interview for me because I've seen this sister put in some amazing work under some very difficult circumstances, and this is what a real woman looks like, and a super soul sister, ladies and gentlemen, Noreen McClendon. Thank you so much for coming in today. All right, we'll be right back to wrap this up with none other than Mr. Paris.
Come again another day. Sun come out and hide the clouds. I need you. If Stevie could see the vision of you, he would probably say, if Stevie could see the vision.
All right, we black up in here for a few more minutes, and the brother that's sitting to my immediate left, you've been listening to his very, very soulful and compelling sound. His name is Paris. Paris, what's the name of your CD?
My album is called Take It There.
Take It There. You said album like, you from my generation, man, and that ain't happening, man. But what's your connection to R&B and just, bringing it kind of music?
Well, I grew up singing in the church, basically, but my doors were open to me early through knowing a few people that connected me with Boyz II Men, and I was drawn to that. I wasn't allowed to really do it at first, but what ended up happening, I sung for them, me and my cousin did, they signed us. And my mom and my grandmother and them went with it, but I was drawn to that music, and that music made me feel a certain way because I was able to provide for the family, So it was a beautiful thing to be able to cross over, I guess, from gospel into the R&B market. So that's when the whole Paris and R&B world was born, basically.
So you got a showcase coming up next Thursday here in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it happens every other Thursday right there in the heart of Hollywood at Cabo Wabo Cantina on the 4th floor. I bring some of the best signed and unsigned artists that Southern California has seen and haven't seen. We basically give them a platform where they can come be seen if they have talent to play an instrument, if you can sing, if you can rap, if you have poetry or whatever. We haven't gotten into the poetry side of it yet, but if you're a singer at this point and you need a place to come perform and be seen, that platform is there for you.
So that's, again, the location?
It's at Cabo Wabo Cantina at Hollywood and Highland, 6801 Hollywood and Highland on the 4th floor.
At what time?
Starts promptly at 9 o'clock. We have a red carpet where you can come get your pictures on and feel dramatic and beautiful and all that in the beginning. And then you come in and order your food and get seated, and the show starts and it jumps off.
So if somebody wants to get out, what's the name of your CD again?
CD is called Take It There.
Man, where can they get it at?
They can go to iTunes or Google Play.
All right, ladies and
And
gentlemen.
if you see me, I have them with me always, too.
This brother's on the grind like the bad brakes on a dump truck.
Got to keep it pushing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we close out, I want you to take a good look at this book right here, Real Men Don't Play. I worked on this for 10 years, and actually it's been a lifelong project, and it's a collection of interviews of highly respected men whose accomplishments can be traced to their unwillingness to compromise their values, principles, and they're committed to family and to themselves. Some of the people in the book that you might recognize and know from various things, Keith David, an Emmy Award-winning actor, of course, the brother who has been an inspiration to me, the great Jim Brown, Coach Lionel Hollins from the Memphis Grizzlies, and the other people in this book, outside of the face of boxing, Mr. Sam Watson, each and every one of these gentlemen have one thing in common. They say what they mean what they say. They've left indelible footprints, and if you want a physical copy of my book right now, You can email me at Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at realmendon'tplay.com. That's without the apostrophe in don't. And the book is available on iTunes and Amazon in the ebook format. Tonight's show, again, reflects the diversity and depth of our culture. And it's not all about the men, it's about the sisters who understand that they can be as great as they possibly want to be and never feel that they have to take a back step to anybody. And then we have a brother like Jimmy Hart who puts it down on a regular level down in my hometown. And then you got a cat like Mitchell J.J. Anderson, who after a stellar career in the NBA sold into the lives of so many children through his Mitchell J.J. Anderson basketball camp. And I appreciate you guys for sticking with the show. Tell your friends about it. And until we see each other next week, thank you for letting me be myself again. We out of here.
Take a minute to exhale. This might come strong for you.